Hey everyone, it's Ryan Metzler here again, and today we're going to take a look at a game from Asmadi Games that was originally called Red. I believe it's called Red7 now, but I think the game is pretty much the same. I'll be doing the video by the rules that came with my copy of Red, which hopefully haven't changed too much. But this is a game where players are building a tableau during their turn that must be winning the game by the end of their turn. But the rules as to how you will win will change as the game goes on. So real quickly, why don't we just take a look at what the gameplay of Red7 is. You're already looking at the components, but we'll see how the game plays, and then we'll come back at the end of this video and get my opinions on it. So here you can see the components for Red. Now I've got this all set up for a 4-player game, but the rules are going to be pretty much the same regardless of the number of players. What you're looking at here is that we have a discard pile. This is the deck. We don't need that anymore as we've already dealt the cards out. But we have a discard pile, which currently has the card in it that says you are currently playing red, and the highest card wins. And this is currently the rule as to how you win the game. Now this rule will change as the game goes on, at least it should if you're playing properly. So, in addition, each player has been dealt 7 cards. They have 7 cards here, and these cards are numbered 1 through 7 in 7 possible different colors, the colors of the rainbow, so red, orange, yellow, green, blue, indigo, violet. In addition, each player has a card in their tableau. So we see we have 2 indigo cards here of 2 and 3. We have a yellow card of 5, and we have a violet card of 3. Now, let's say that this player dealt, so it's now this player's turn. Each player will have this little reference sheet saying that red is the highest suit and violet is the lowest suit, and that each suit has a different condition as to how to win the game. On your turn, you can play a card to your own tableau, so you can add a card to your tableau, and you can also discard a card. But when you discard a card, after your discard, you must be winning the game. Now, when you discard a card, it will change how the game is to be won. So we'll go ahead and take a look at the various options there. Now, all of these options are printed on all of the cards. So, for example, red cards, and if we look at this little sheet, I'll try and hold it as still as possible, but red cards say that when you have a red card on the top of the discard pile, whoever currently has the highest card is the winner. So right now, winning the game is our player with the yellow card. They have the highest card is winning. Luckily, for our current player, it doesn't matter who's winning currently until the end of their turn, at which point, once they've discarded a card, they must be winning or they are out of the game. So this player needs to find a way to adjust their tableau, either by playing a card to the tableau or changing the rules in order to be winning the game. So, with red currently out there, let's look at our players' options. They do have a card that is higher than a 5, so they could simply play a card to their own tableau. They could play this 7. The current rule is that high card wins. High card is a 7, they could now end their turn, pass it to the next player. Alternatively, if they wanted to, they could change the rules so that they are winning. So let's take a look at their other options. They have red cards, those are going to be no good for changing the rules, but then they have several other ones here. For example, they have a yellow card. If they were to discard this yellow card, they would now have the rule being whoever the winner is has the most of one color. Unfortunately, that's a tie all the way around, so you would break that tie by color. Now, of course, they're not going to be winning because they're at the bottom, so they don't want to do this. They could do the most different colors, same thing. They could do the most even cards. So if they were to discard this green, the rule is now most even cards, and they are winning. They have a 2, and nobody else has any even cards. So this would be another way that they could end the turn, and still be winning, which of course is the requirement for ending your turn. You must be winning. Alternatively, the other ones they have, so we've already gone over most of one color, we've gone over most even cards, we have most of one number, which will not help us with the oranges, most different colors won't help, and most cards below 4, again, not helpful to our player. So their 2 choices in this hand are to either play a red card that's higher, or any card that's higher than the current other highest cards on the table, or to discard their green card to make it most even cards. Note that they could do 2 plays. It doesn't have to be one or the other. It doesn't have to be a play or a discard. It can be a play and a discard. So if they wanted to, for example, they could play their 2 out to their tableau, and then discard this 4, which they didn't need to do both of, but could discard the 4 to be most even cards, and now it's 2 even cards to none for all of the other players, and this would effectively end their turn. The next player would then, of course, pick up their hand and try and figure out how they can get in the lead. Obviously, it's not going to be most even cards, because they only have 1, and they can only play 1 to their own tableau. Sorry, they only have 0. and they can only play one to their own tableau, so they're never going to get to 2 even cards. So they'll start looking at their hand and see what they can do. For example, maybe they decide to look through and see most of one number. So they decide to play a 3, and then discard one of their most of one number. So they're going to discard the orange. In this case, 3s are higher than 2s. They have the same number of cards of the one number, but the 3s are higher than the 2s, and this makes it a legal play. And of course, we would move on to the next player, who is now losing because they don't have the most of one number. If they had a 5, they could play their 5 out and simply end their turn, but they don't. So now they need to take other options into consideration. So not having looked at this hand ahead of time, they could perhaps go for most numbers in a row. Do they have a 6? No, but they do have a 4. So maybe they decide to play their 4 out here. They now have 4, 5, and they can discard their 7 that says most numbers in a row, as nobody else has any numbers in a row. And you get the idea here. The idea is that you must be winning the turn, or winning the hand by the end of your turn by playing or discarding, or playing and discarding a card to change the rules. I don't know if we've covered them all yet, so real quick we'll take a look at what discarding each type of card can do. Red makes the highest card currently winning. Orange will allow you to do most of one number, so we've seen that already. Yellow says most of one color, so that would allow you to discard a yellow card and make it whoever has the most of one color in their tableau. Green is most even, which we saw. Blue is going to be most different colors. Indigo will be most numbers in a row, which we just saw, and then violet is most cards below 4. So you can accumulate cards below 4 in order to make that happen. You're going to play around the table until essentially a player isn't able to play, and they'll be kicked out of the round, and you're going to keep doing this until all players but one can't win at the end of their turn, and that player will be the winner of the round. Now you can either count it that way and just have that player be the winner of the round, or you can have that player pick up their tableau. And you'll score points based on tableau at the end of the round. Now, if playing with the tableau scoring rule, there's actually some advanced rules that can come into the game. And so we'll talk a little bit about the advanced rules that can come in. One is that you cannot discard a card if you're playing the advanced game that is lower than the number of cards you have in your palette. So at the early game, it's a lot easier to discard cards because if you have only one card in your palette, you can discard anything down to a 1. But as you accumulate more cards, up to 4 and 5 cards in your palette, you can no longer discard 1, 2, 3, 4 if you have 5 cards in your palette. So changing the rules will become harder. Additionally, the winner of the round, as I said, will pick up their entire palette, and they're going to score the highest card of all of the cards that is involved in that. So for example, if you were to score most different colors, you would score the highest card of each color that you have. So you're going to, if you, for example, scored most of the same number, score the highest card in each color. So in this case, let's say this player won, they would score both of these cards and they would get 6 points, tucking them underneath here. So that's going to be the advanced game, and you're going to play to a certain number of points depending on your number of players. It's 40, 35, or 30 for 2, 3, or 4 players. Additionally, there's another set of rules you can add in, and it involves the little icons that are on these different cards. All of the odd cards have an icon on them, and when you play one of these cards to your tableau, you must take the action. So the different icons are actually outlined in the rules. I don't tend to play this way, so I'm going to use the cheat sheet for reference. But for example, if you were to play a 7 to your tableau, the 7 would force you to discard another card from your tableau, and that card will become the new rule. So you have to be very careful of what you're eliminating from your tableau, making sure that playing that card out to the center doesn't break the rules so that you can't win. The other options are that you may play any card from your hand into your palette when you play this card, and then you may still discard, so it's an additional play for playing a 5. A 3 will allow you to draw another card from the deck, so you're going to pick up an extra card from the deck, which will get you more options, but if the deck's empty, you get nothing. And playing a 1 will allow you to take a card from another player's palette and place it face down on top of the draw deck, so that allows you to eliminate something from somebody else's palette, maybe give you an advantage, and put it on top of the deck so that maybe you can play a 3 later and draw that card back out if you need it. So you'll see that there are a variety of options, but the core mechanism of the game is winning by the end of your turn, and you have 2 ways to do that: playing a new card or discarding a card. And whoever best manages the card in their hand, playing them in the right order, and hopefully not falling trapped to anybody else's plans, will be the winner of Red 7. Well, there you have it. That is Red, or Red 7 from Asmadi Games. If the rules have changed to Red 7, I'm sorry, but the version of Red that I have is still very, very interesting. I really like the concept behind this game, and it's not surprising because it's from the designer of Glory to Rome, and several other card games and other games that I like quite a bit. So his style of design is always very interesting. He has some unique ideas. I don't know how to pronounce his last name, but it's Karl Chudyk, if I'm not mispronouncing it. Regardless, the idea of this game that you have one or two plays on your turn to play to your tableau or to discard, and that you must be winning by the end is very, very cool, I must say. At first, it'll seem kind of random because you don't have a lot of cards to choose from, but in the first turn, you'll have a lot of different ways you can win. And keeping cards in your hand is going to be very important. So usually the minimalistic way that you can get into the winning position is going to be best. That may not always be true given the distribution of what other players have in their tableaus and what else they have in their hand. So kind of gauging the information that's available to you and making the best decision from your hand in order to have future options on future turns will keep you in the game the longest. I also talked about a couple of different variants that are in the game. One is the advanced variant where you can't discard a card higher than or lower than the number of cards in your tableau. I always get confused, and this is part of the problem. You can't discard a card that is lower than the number of cards you have in your tableau. And additionally, you score points at the end of the round. I like the point scoring. I don't like the tableau rule, but I would take them together and probably play the advanced variant because it makes it harder as you develop your tableau to discard cards and change the rules. And I think that's kind of interesting as well. The discard actions, or the play actions, I should say, on the odd numbered cards, I don't like. It's just, I don't know, it seems like additional fiddliness that isn't really needed in the game. All of a sudden, you're taking cards from other players' tableaus, putting them on top of the deck, drawing more cards, discarding extra cards. I think the beauty of the game was in its relative simplicity, and adding that portion in didn't do anything extra for me. So overall, very good game, one that I would definitely recommend. This is Red, but probably Red 7 as well. Super cool, basic card game, 49 little cards, some player sheets, player aids, but a lot of gameplay there and a lot of thinking in terms of how you can best maximize your play. So if that sounds good to you, check it out, Red or Red 7 from Asmadi Games.
Thanks so much for watching the Dice Tower videos. Find more great videos and reviews as well as our top-rated audio podcast at Dicetower.com. You can also find other great shows at Dicetowernetwork.com. I'm Eric Summerer, and you've been watching The Dice Tower. The Dice Tower is sponsored by Cool Stuff Inc., where you can find great games for great prices. Cool stuff in stock. Check them out at CoolStuffInc.com.